So something you don't get asked, I'm pretty sure, even though I know you could handle it, is every headache a concussion?
Yeah.
And does every concussion have to have headaches? And it's interesting during the sports season. So for high school, college, for middle school, especially during football in the fall and soccer, which starts in the fall and goes in early spring, we'll have a significant amount of concussions. We see them in baseball, volleyball, in every sport. Basketball as well, but probably football and soccer kind of as the big ones. And we get quite a bit of referrals, like we should, about, hey, is this a concussion? How bad is it? What do we have to follow? You know, when I look at it, unfortunately, a lot of them are concussions. The athletic trainers, the coaches we work with, especially in the last 10 years with the way our thinking about concussions has changed, the way it's changed legislatively. There are some laws guiding us on how we bring them back and so forth, has really made people much more astute about looking out for concussions. And you'd be surprised. I would tell you probably well over 90% are true concussions when they come in. But not every headache is a concussion. I'm sure the example I use with parents especially is I have bumped my head on a cabinet, hit my head in a very dumb fashion on a car door, and had a little bit of a bruise to my head and a little bit of a headache, but it doesn't mean I had, any cognitive or thinking dysfunction, trouble concentrating, trouble with sleep, trouble with emotions. People with concussions tend to get more irritable and so forth.
Yeah.
And so that's really a distinction we make. And sometimes it can be a little bit in the gray area where it's hard. You can't MRI a brain and say, well, there's a concussion, or CAT scan a brain and say, well, there's a concussion.
What's a good time? So if you've got an athlete or a loved one, somebody who maybe had some kind of trauma, you're not sure, they've got a headache, and something is going off alarm bells. Is this a concussion? When do they need to be evaluated?
A little bit difficult to answer, but I think a good general rule is you should come in, something that lasts an hour or two, I don't think I'm too worried about.
Okay.
But we, as long as they are stable, they're not having a lot of neurological dysfunction where there's just a lot of things going weird on mom or dad or kid. Within a couple of days, we usually will see them within about 2 or 3 days. It's very uncommon to see them outside of a week after the head trauma because there's something really wrong. There's a lot of things. It's not just a headache. It is behaving oddly, looking like they're out of it, being more quiet than usual, sleep all the time, but complain that they're sleepy because they're not sleeping well. And so there's a lot of distinctions that go with it. We have a lot of guidelines that feed us, but there's no hard, fast rule, not only on how to diagnose it, but or what symptoms you need, but how to treat it.
Well, and the trainers play a big role in this too, right?
And you know what, trainers and coaches. We have a lot of schools around San Antonio with athletic trainers, but a lot of smaller schools, within as close as 30 miles. That the coach that's more comfortable with the sports medicine issues becomes the athletic trainer and kind of the team doc and everything else.
Right.
Luckily, through their organizations, through a lot of stuff online, there's a lot of education. They become really, really good at it. I think the reason why we diagnose a lot of concussions and people sent to us when they are suspected is these guys know what they look like.
Yeah.
These guys know when it's not just a headache. This looks strange. This looks weird. This looks a little bit more complicated than we usually see. And that kind of education support in all of us. Parents as well.
Sure.
Part of our job is to educate parents, even at the level of the schools, and a lot of the select teams will. It's really helped out. We see, we probably see a few hundred concussions a year from different levels of sport. I think personally we see more than we used to because the suspicion level is much more appropriate. This injury doesn't get blown off as much as definitely when I was younger and so forth.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we have good turnouts with the majority of them. Sometimes image is indicated, but unlike a break or a fracture, where you need the imaging regularly, you really don't in a concussion because you really follow the symptoms and what's going on with it.